Morning, Talking Cafe for Mendip today. I'm Bella Lapwood, one of the village agents that covers the Mendip area. Today I'm joined by Laura Merritt from the Reader Project. She's going to explain a little bit about what the Reader Project is, and we're going to have a bit of a discussion on their Reading for Dementia project. So I'll hand over to Laura. If you've got any questions that you want to ask as we're going along, please feel free to stick them in the comments box and we'll get to them at the end. Over to you, Laura.
Hi, Bella. Thanks for having me. Well, I thought I'd just start by talking a little bit about the Reader organisation. You've kindly had us on your show before, but for people that don't know who we are, so basically we're a national charity. Basically, the idea of what we do is to bring people together in all sorts of community settings through reading. So we call it shared reading because we usually do this in a group setting. So we might, for example, go into public libraries, community centres, prisons, hospitals, schools, anywhere where there's a need really to bring people together. And we just like to connect through literature. So we use short stories and poems. So the idea is that we would always say to people, would anybody like to read? But at the same time, we would never pressurise anybody. So we would never sort of pick someone out in a group and say, Bella, it's your turn to read now. It's very much, you know, if you'd like to read aloud, that would be absolutely lovely. But at the same time, it's absolutely fine if you'd like to just sit and listen and not say anything at all. So what we're not is, you know, a very sort of structured, academic, intellectual book group type of organisation. We're very much about just coming together, reading something, and then just having a chat about what we read. So the model that we use, we tend to read a page of a short story, and then we'll stop and have a chat about it. And then we'll read on and we'll just go through in that sort of format. And then we always like to end on a poem if there's time. And I can't really explain enough just what a lovely way of bringing people together this is, because there's so much within a story or a poem. And I think the really lovely thing about what we do is that everybody has got their own individual take on whatever they've read, or their own experience or their own memories that they bring to the group. So I mean, the sorts of conversations that can just come out of a short story or a poem are, you know, wonderful really. And it's, you know, I think as an organisation, it's been very difficult, obviously, over the past year we haven't been able to do anything face-to-face at all, but we've offered a lot of alternative provisions. So a lot of our library shared reading groups have gone online, for example. So Zoom, which we all thought, oh no, how's this going to work? But I mean, remarkably, it has. I mean, I don't think anything replaces face-to-face contact, and I don't think it ever will. But I think what we found in so many situations is that people would rather have that than nothing at all. So a lot of our shared reading groups have gone online, which is amazing. And if you look at our website, which I think, yeah, you're putting the address up at the moment, if you go on there, you'll see so many things that we're offering. Most days of the week, we have some sort of, shared reading group that people can sign up for or just drop in. We also offer shared reading sessions over the telephone for people that, you know, aren't so tech savvy, because let's face it, not everybody is. We were saying before the show, I mean, I've had to learn a lot during lockdown to become more technical, but, you know, for not everybody, this isn't possible. So we've tried to think of something for everybody. So we have shared reading over the telephone, but we have volunteers signed up, and ready to do this. So it would be a case of phoning up, registering your interest, and then one of our volunteers would phone you, perhaps every week or whenever you'd like to just have a short story and some poems over the telephone. And we also have something called our Lifelines activity packs. So a lot of our care homes have signed up for these. And basically what they are bundles of stories and poems, which we can email out to people every week, and they can just be printed off and shared. So perhaps in a care home, or even just at home if this was something that you'd like to do.
So that's available for individuals as well, the activity packs?
Yes, yeah. I mean, it tends to be more groups, situations that are signing up for them. So perhaps if you used to have a reading group, or one of your volunteers isn't able to do anything with the group through Zoom anymore, some of our volunteers are having the activity packs and emailing them out to people. So there's always all sorts of ways around what we do, and there's a lot of that on the website. So yeah, I mean, that's just a little sort of blurb about us as an organisation. I could say a lot more, but I mean, if anyone's got any questions. But what I'm really here to talk about today is a particular project that I'm coordinating. So this is across Somerset because we had funding from Somerset County Council in 2019. So initially, the project was specifically aimed at people who are living with dementia who would like to take part in shared reading groups. So we recruited for volunteers and we trained them. And all our training is free of charge, as with all our services, because we are a charity. And then the 4 volunteers that we trained went on and set up their own weekly shared reading groups in care homes across Somerset. So they were residential care homes, and they were running probably for about a month to 6 weeks. And then unfortunately, we had the first lockdown a year ago. So it was a real shame because, we couldn't go back in. But we have obviously been doing what we can still with the care homes. And, the brilliant news is that we have more funding back in the summer to continue developing the programme. So this time, what we're trying to do is to focus more on, again, people who are living with dementia, but people who would normally be going into daycare settings. I mean, a lot of those people have obviously been isolated at home because, daycare centres, I think some of them are opening their doors again now, starting to. But, again, as alternatives, we've just been trying to identify individuals who would like to take part in the programme, or family members or carers who know somebody who would really like to take part in this, but would be happy perhaps having a Zoom call at home. So again, really, family members or carers are kind of pivotal here to just helping with the facilitation of this. I mean, I think a lot of the time, and this is the problem we found, is that people are very daunted as soon as you say, oh, it will be online and it will be Zoom. People think, oh God, I can't do that. And it's fair enough. For some people, it's just not within their remit at all. But I think a lot of people have found that, once they've sort of got someone with them, you can just do that, the clicking on the link, and then you're there, aren't you? And I've been quite surprised really about how well it has been working. And some of the people who have signed up for it, already, it's really lovely to sit in on some of the sessions with the volunteers and just see people enjoying some poetry together.
Do you do most of that on Zoom with people with dementia, or are you also doing it over the telephone as well?
Me personally, or as
in general? Yeah.
No, we're offering, so we are offering the telephone sessions as well for people that don't want to go down the Zoom route. And as I mentioned earlier, a lot of our care homes are having the activity packs, although a few more now are signing up for the Zoom sessions. I think, people have had so much to deal with this past year, particularly the care homes. So it's been a lot for them to sort of navigate, can we really get involved in shared reading as well? But I think now people are realising that, we do still need to keep these things going. We always tend to use poetry as opposed to short stories for people with dementia, because we just find this works so well. There's so much in a poem, there's so many sort of images, and the language is so metaphorical, and it just works so well with people who are living with dementia. It's very instant. And I think, again, the lovely thing about poetry is two people can read a poem and interpret it in two completely different ways. So there's a lot that we can get out of a conversation around a poem.
So if someone wanted to take up on that dementia project, how would they get in touch with you, or you take it from a third party? So for instance, one of us, could we get in contact with you and say we've got somebody that's living with dementia who would be interested?
Absolutely, that'd be wonderful. I mean, this is basically what we're trying to do, is just to sort of get the word out there and identify people who would really love to do this. So yes, by all means, people could contact you, and then you could pass signpost them to me. Or if people wanted to go through our main website address, or I'm happy for my work email to be put up on the screen, or I can give that now if people want to write it down.
So give it now, just in case.
Laura Merritt at thereader.org.uk. So Merritt is MERRITT. But if they went in through the reader main address, that would then just be signposted through to me as well. And I think there's also a phone number, which I gave you. I'm not sure if that's going to come up on the screen, but it will get through to me somehow.
Right. And if somebody wanted to volunteer to help in doing the project, how do they go about that?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're always looking for volunteers, so that would be brilliant. So again, if they went through the main reader website, we have a whole volunteer team who do with this sort of thing. They would go through everything with the person. I mentioned our training, it has moved online now, but in a sense it's become more flexible, because people can sort of choose the modules that they want to take on the dates that suit them, rather than, it used to be a bit difficult trying to sort of manage all these people and get them all together to train them all at the same time. But with the online, that is one really positive thing, is that our training dates have become a lot more flexible. So yeah, again, if anybody would like to volunteer with the reader, and there's a whole section on our website as well about that, that would be wonderful. And the training is free of charge. I think I mentioned that before.
Excellent.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, a project that really needs to be, made use of.
Yeah, absolutely.
At a moment where, we're not able to get out and about, and that's very difficult for a lot of people, along with people that are living with dementia and, their careers and stuff like that. It's a very difficult situation. So to be able to make a few poems a week to help people is amazing.
And it's just having that conversation as well, because some people just aren't having any interaction, with anyone at the moment. And, particularly if you're sort of stuck at home, and, if a lot of the things that you used to do have broken down. So it's lovely to be able to offer that interaction with somebody. And I think working with people who are living with dementia as well, it's incredible because sometimes the poems that we read, people may have learned at school, 60 or more years ago, but that memory is still there because a lot of the time they had to learn things by rote at school, which we don't really have to do so much anymore. I don't think it's something that we really encourage children to do in the school system. But years ago, so many times I've gone into care homes and read poems with people and they've said, oh, I remember this one. I remember reading this in a poetry competition when I was 10. And I've been blown away by people that can just reel off all these verses of poetry. It's really quite astounding. And it brings up memories for them. So it's great for reminiscence and just to spark conversation, really.
Yeah, definitely. Samantha popped a comment in to say that she will be letting people know about the service. She deals with people with dementia on a daily basis via their community placement scheme. So she said, so you might be inundated in a minute with.
Fantastic. No, that's so good. This is exactly what we need. We just really want. Sorry, I missed the lady's name.
Samantha James.
Samantha, thank you, Samantha. It's people like you that we need to sort of get out there into the community. We've been doing obviously what we can as an organisation, but you're a bit more limited at the moment because we can't actually go into places. Normally we would do taster sessions. Some of these I'm doing online. So, we're still doing what we can, but we do need people like Samantha to spread the word.
So, let people know.
Yeah, thank you.
If there's any more questions, please feel free to stick them in the comments box and we'll ask them. But you've got a couple of poems for us as well, haven't you, Laura? That
to
give us a little bit of a taster of what people would be getting. So I don't know if you want to. Do you want to do those now?
Absolutely. Yeah. Why not?
Okay. Let's work with the technology. There we go.
Thank you. So I thought I'd start with this. It's only a short poem, and just to say that the way that we work in the reader, we would always read through a poem twice because I think just needs that really. It just needs that first reading to introduce it, and then what we always say as well is don't be frightened of just sort of sitting with it and having a silence for even if it's a minute, just because I think people are often a little bit afraid of a silence or think, oh, it's an awkward pause. But I think when you're reading a poem, you need that time for it to just really embed and settle. So we always do 2 readings, and then I will just sort of throw it open to people and we'll just have a little chat about it. Morning Rains by Michael Field. I heard a morning thrush salute the rains that beat in soft, prolific rush, armies of angry dewdrops on the panes, in shower across the roofs. The thrush, through all this liquid measure, sang shrilly for his pleasure. And as the soft and shrill together mingled, my ears voluptuously tingled. So I'm going to give that one more reading. Morning Rains. I heard a morning thrush salute the rains that beat in soft, prolific rush. Armies of angry dewdrops on the panes, in shower across the roofs. The thrush through all this liquid measure sang shrilly for his pleasure. And as the soft and shrill together mingled, my ears voluptuously tingled.
Yeah, see, that's quite amazing, really, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. What's your first thoughts, Bella?
Very nice, isn't it? It's a very nice poem, and it definitely it stirs some emotion, I think.
It does. Well, I think anything in nature does, and that's what we find, when we read poems, anything really that's got something about nature, whether it be the sea or a walk in the woods or birds singing, it really resonates. I mean, it's universal. I think most people have had an experience, of hearing the birds singing. I've been really sort of noticing it just this week. I think we're all thinking, oh, spring's coming, at last, we will really need it. So I think, yeah, I mean, there's something in there. I mean, I did make a few quick notes actually just before the program. But so, for example, if I was reading that in a session with somebody, things I would pick out again, we're not a sort of academic setup who would want to start analysing poetry structure or anything like that. We're very much about, so how does that make you feel? Or how can something be soft and shrill? And just to sort of think about that and those two words. I mean, just reading it, sometimes it's almost a little bit of a tongue twister, to sort of say shrilly, and sort of putting your mouth around those words. And of course, we would sort of throw it open to people. Would anybody like to read? And then if somebody wanted to, they might have a turn and say how they felt when they were reading it. Or just what you said, Bella. I think you said, "Oh, that's it's amazing." Or that's brilliant. That's the sort of reaction that we would immediately just open with. Oh, why does that feel amazing to you? So we're very much about how does this feel. Yeah, I mean, I couldn't actually work out from the poem whether the thrush was enjoying the rain or what thing, that we would just sort of throw out to people. So do you think the thrush is enjoying the rain, or who's writing this poem? Who's watching this scene? Whose eyes are we seeing it through? I mean, there's so much in there, and in such a short poem as well, because it really was quite a short one, actually.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. When you're in your groups, would people bring their own poems that maybe they feel more connected to read, or would it just be your poems that you would read?
We tend to bring the material ourselves just because we have, a huge sort of library of material as an organisation that is sort of specially selected for specific groups. So, for example, for this particular project for people living with dementia, we would have material that is a little bit more specific for, that we've used before that has worked really well. So we would like to sort of use that again because we know from past experience that, this is a really good poem. There's a lot in here. Saying that, sometimes, if a person is really sort of enthusiastic about bringing a poem that they love, or they want to just stand up, which often happens, and just recite a poem that they remember, I mean, that's brilliant as well, because the whole thing about what we're trying to do is just to engage people in whatever way we can, really. So the answer to your question is yes, we would try and steer them towards the material that we're bringing. And quite often what happens is people will go off on a complete tangent away from the poem or the story. That happens in all sorts of groups. And that's fine, but at some point we like to sort of bring them back to the text. Because the idea is to sort of stay in with what we're reading and not get too sort of distracted about world events. Because, sometimes that can just, if it's a big group especially, it can all get a little bit chaotic. So we always do try and bring people back to the reading. And we call it getting in and staying in, sort of one of the ways that we work. So I don't know how I'm doing for time. I could do another poem if you'd like me to.
Well, but to be honest, we're almost there, I think.
Okay.
Up to you. If you'd like to do another one, feel free. But we were about on there. We're about.
That's absolutely fine. I didn't think I was going to be able to talk for that long, but there you go.
So anybody that's got any questions or queries, or you'd like to find out more, please visit the website. All the details are there. And if anybody wants to get involved with a group and things, all of those details are on the website. So please go onto the website and have a look. So thank you very much, Laura. And
thank you for having me.
That's okay.